Hello everybody, Anna Sabramwoods here. I hope you're having a fabulous Thursday. Oh my goodness. All right, another case study for you guys about interactive storytelling. And this one is about getting people who are in the medical profession or work in a medical facility to get them really engaged in the performance appraisal system. In basically, if you have people who are joining your organization and you want them to engage in the process of planning out their own paths, setting goals for themselves, professional goals, and in a way looking for opportunities to challenge themselves in their role after they've been onboarded. This is the system, right? But one of the challenges that this organization had was, they crafted this system and they were launching it, but they really wanted to take the staff ownership of that process instead of it being driven solely by the leadership of that organization. So pretty cool, right? How do you get them to do that? How do you get staff to take an active role? This was very important for this organization, and so they decided an interactive story was the way. But they didn't decide on their own. They had some serious help. They had some help from one of my students, Dianne. And I want to talk about this case study, but also I want to talk about Dianne a little bit, because she's very much the reason that this actually happened at all, because she was so determined and so persuasive, and also so committed to making sure that the product was going to be awesome. So I hope you enjoy this one and you stick around. Now, if you're visiting from a place that you don't want to say hi, go for it. I'm just going to make sure I can see your comments. Now, some of you have been awesome by actually posting some of your audiences that you're tackling, the audiences that you're trying to motivate, inspire, persuade, change their behavior. So I'd love to hear who you're trying to persuade. What's the behavior you're trying to get them to change? Where are you noticing some opportunities for improvement? Post that in the comments, because I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to solve that problem and give you really good ideas. But one of the things that I know for sure is that I've seen way more interactive stories than most people, and worked with way more people on their own interactive stories, that I can give you some ideas on how to move this forward, or at least which questions to ask first to make sure that you're on the right path. All right, so let's talk about this case study. Now, first off, I just wanted to mention this because somebody asked. So behind me, you will see there's a little cage, right? And there's a bird in there, and everybody's always like, how come the bird doesn't sing? How come it's so quiet? And the reason is because that bird, which is a little canary, is she's my adopted rescue canary. I don't know how old she is, so girls don't sing. They only squawk a little. And what happened is, I guess she was one of those like breeding canaries, and somebody was just giving her away, right? And I said, I'll take care of her. So she's spending her retirement with me in this awesome cage, and she's actually learning how to fly outside of the cage. I actually took the top off, and she didn't even do anything about it until 2 days ago. She started venturing out, which is really cool. So pretty sweet retirement, I dare say. All right, so let's get to the case study now. All right, hopefully you can see this, you can read this. If you can, give me a heck yeah. I love seeing your comments, knowing that I'm not alone in this world when I'm talking to to all of y'all. Okay, so like I said, this is the one of the things that we needed to change in this organization, and this happens if you are in an organization and you are in HR or learning and development, anything, right? And if you've designed a path for people where they can actually be autonomous in their process, that's hard, right? To get people to feel, sometimes they feel like they're intruding. They feel like the process only happens, once every quarter. Also, a lot of times what happens is, if you have certain beliefs, this happens, right? If you have certain beliefs about how an organization works, or you've had some experience and something new gets launched, you're going to see it through a lens, right? You're going to be like, there's one more thing the management's throwing at us. One more thing to appease us. They're going to see things through their lens, and it's going to, because they're looking at it with their beliefs, it's going to actually, they're going to find confirmation bias, right? They're going to find things that support their point of view. And so what the interactive story goal was this new appraisal system and this new performance management system was developed by this organization as a response to feedback from their employees, right? So they're actually listening to their staff. They're going, oh man, these guys need more guidance, more autonomy, more opportunities. Here's the system that'll help them do that on a large scale, right? But how do we launch it to them without that skepticism that initially caused some of that frustration, right? How do we do that? So one of my students, Dianne, this was her task, right? How do I craft something compelling without making a giant content dump of policy and look at this new thing, which nobody's going to read, nobody's going to care about. They're just going to be like, okay, more stuff for me to read while I'm slammed busy at this healthcare facility, right? How do we make this that they're driving that process? That's huge, right? That's what you want people to do. And that's what we assume everybody does, but none of them do. Like, everybody's super slammed and busy. They don't care. They don't want to read our stuff. They don't want to go through the manual. Imagine sending people a manual. They'd be like, no way. I mean, I send people links to stuff and they never even click on them. So imagine an actual manual. Oh God, no way. So how do we get them excited about this, right? How do we sell them on the idea that this is for them? This is going to be valuable for them. So here are some of the beliefs that we needed to tackle, right? With this interactive story. That the process is owned by my boss. It's not on me. It's on the boss, right? So that's a big one. Like, how do you help people take ownership of that? That's huge. My contribution doesn't make a difference. There was that belief in there, right? Came back from surveys. And it wasn't necessarily that they didn't feel they made a difference, because they knew they did. I mean, you work in healthcare, you know you're making a difference. But on a larger scale, they felt like, where do I fit? Does anybody even notice my work? And if you're not getting consistent feedback because everybody's super slammed, then you might feel like nobody cares if you go away for a day or two. Like, you feel like you're not recognized, right? I don't have influence on the big picture. They felt kind of helpless. Like, do I get a say around here? Do I get to influence this work environment? Those are the things that they didn't believe that they did. And they're like, I'm just one person in an organization of 10,000, who am I? And then the other thing is that this was important. To get more experience or autonomy, I have to either switch jobs or become the boss. Now, in a place where there can only be one boss for, let's say, 50 people, that's kind of hard, right? So you probably reinforces some of these other things, like, I don't really have impact around here, or it made people feel like they had to go someplace else to get experience or more autonomy, but they didn't want to. So then they're like, yeah, I can't quit this job, therefore I'm just stuck here, right? So it's kind of a cycle, and it kind of feeds itself. So it's like, how do you get people out of that cycle? Well, guess what? Of course. And listen, I gotta tell you, of course, this woman, Dianne, she's introducing something new to this organization. Now, I'm sure they're thinking, we just want to show them the manual and let them know that it's here and it's awesome. And that's kind of the traditional response that you'll hear, right? And the thing is, they're not to blame. They've never seen anything else. They're not aware of interactive stories. They don't know about persuasion. They don't know about motivation. They think everybody's gung-ho about the fact they have this new performance appraisal system, right? But that's okay, because the goal of this, of all of the work that we do, is not to walk into the room and for everybody to be like, yes, of course, we've been waiting for you. We all know what you do and we want you to just deliver it. That's not how it works, right? Ever, right? You have to, you're like Edison, or you're that guy who sold Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he walked around with his recipe to like 1,000 people and got rejected 1,000 times before somebody said, I think this is gonna work. Colonel Sanders, it didn't go that way, right? He had to push, he had to keep on pushing. And that's what was amazing with Dianne's progress. Initially, she had to sell this thing, really sell it. Even during the project, I always tell students, you're always selling, and you're selling your team members, you're selling your vision, you're selling the end result constantly. Nobody's going to, ask you to be inspired. You're going to have to be the hustler. You're going to have to be the action, the catalyst, the action taker, the action maker, the follow-upper, the everything, right? You are driving this process. You're getting that train out of that station. And initially, and I love this analogy, if you see those big-ass trains, initially the momentum is so slow and it feels so hard, right? And then eventually, once you get that train rolling, baby, it's rolling, right? And so what's one of the coolest things with Dianne's journey is that initially this wasn't easy. She didn't think they were even going to go for it. They were so resistant, right? Because it's all new, they're hesitant, but they trusted her and she kept on pushing. And in the end, they started giving feedback, not on where's our content, but on this character, let's make her more like this person, or let's add this detail to make her sound more like one of our people. Now that's dope. That's what gives me tingles. I'm just like, man, they got into the storytelling thing. They're excited about that. So let's talk about the goal of that interactive story and what it accomplished, okay? So the goal of the interactive story: empower staff to be active agents in the process. So we didn't say you have to be the active agent in a process. That's never going to work. Pointing fingers does not work, right? Create curiosity about the new system. I wonder if it could work for me. I wonder. Curiosity is huge. We don't give enough value to curiosity. When people are curious, they'll go and find that they don't like nagging questions, open loops. They want to close those loops. So if all your interactive story does is open up a bunch of loops for people and they're like, what? Where's the answer? That's huge. How many times have you walked out of a course or anything and been like, oh, all right, yeah, that's good. What if you walk out and you're like, man, there's like 5 questions in there I didn't get answers to, and I wonder if it'll work for me. That's great. That's absolutely the coolest thing ever. Sparking curiosity, getting people a little bit edgy. They're like, is there a way? What? I don't have to quit my job? I can actually just, let's see. I'm skeptical, but let's see, right? That's great. That to me is like awesome. Aha. Create awareness around how to find and think about opportunities to grow. So a lot of people thought, for me to get experience, I have to go to a new job. Well, guess what? They're like, you could actually just go to a different team for a couple hours and experience what they do. Gives you a different dynamic. You get different departments, different tools, right? So all of these things were reinforced in the interactive story. And like I said, it's not like we said, you have to take ownership. You're not doing your part. Go to the other team and ask. We didn't do any of that stuff. None of that will work on somebody who already has all these beliefs, right? They're like, yeah, you're just telling me stuff, but here's the truth. Here's what I believe. So what do? We broke these beliefs through creating an interactive story about a character who had all these beliefs, right? And then they acted on those beliefs, or maybe acted on different beliefs, and they got to see what happened. I wonder if that strategy would work for me. I wonder if that strategy would work for you. So that's one of the things that I really wanted to reinforce here is, just because you have that great idea, right? Just because you fully understand it, that doesn't mean that your client will. And that doesn't mean that actually means that it's not a bad thing. Because I have to tell you, even this is from my years of working in customer service, some of the best people to work with are people who are initially resistant, and then they come over to the dark side, right? And they come over and win you over. You win them over. Like some of the best customers that I've ever dealt with, especially in customer service, are the ones that were really, really mad about something, and then I was able to listen and help them, and they became customers for life because they felt like they were recognized. And so one of the things that I think is key to these kinds of projects, when you're introducing very new ideas, nobody talks about storytelling, nobody talks about interactivity this way, an agency for the end user, nobody talks about that stuff. And I don't expect anybody who's, in their area of expertise, a business owner, to know about any of that stuff. That's okay. But if I can paint them a picture about what it can do for them, right? What it can really do for them, and then what it can lead to, that's the win. And in the end, what's really cool is Dianne came up with a whole bunch of stories, a whole bunch of ideas, right? She kind of had to. She was limited in time, resources, everything. And then she pitched it to them, and they came back with ideas. She wasn't necessarily thrilled with them because they were changing, but then the idea was that in the end, this project was more than she imagined by herself and what they imagined by themselves. It was this collaborative effort. It took a lot of effort on her part and a lot of listening and doing and thinking and reflecting and giving feedback and getting feedback. But then in the end, they're proud of it. They were an active participant in it. They own it. And now that is critical for them to promote it, share it, and distribute it to their staff, right? If you knew that, if you know that, that's like 90% of the of the battle, is getting it distributed to people and actually sharing it, being proud of it. How many things are launched and they fall flat and like 10 people see them and you're like, why in the world did I spend 2 months building that thing, right? So that's what was really cool about her project. Now the other thing about Dianne, what's awesome is she is a learning sponge. Now this is the thing. A lot of us are learning sponges. That's why we're in learning and development, right? Because we love to learn. And I see all those posts on social media that are like, I love to learn. What's a new thing I could learn today? Share your thing. And that's cool. But as Scott Adams very aptly said, just because you can read the music on sheet music, and just because you can take the notes and know which key to press on the piano, does not make you a musician. And so Dianne understands this perfectly. She understands, she listens, she's a learning sponge, but then also she's a mad implementer. Mad. Like she will go and just implement, test. And that's what makes a good designer. That's what makes a good learning designer. You're testing, you're hypothesizing, you're iterating, and you're applying. And she built every week, we'd have a new version. We'd have the refined version based on feedback, based on client feedback, team feedback, everything, right? It was so cool to see that progress. And yeah, I'm just like stunned, awesome. Like she learned, listened, took directions, was uncomfortable, stepped out of her comfort zone, still did it because she knew it worked for other people. Boom, right? Crafted her interactive story. First try, knocked it out of the park. I love it. So if you want to learn more about interactive storytelling, you don't have to watch all these lives. You can actually do a deep dive on elearningsecrets.com. Also sign up there because there'll be some awesomeness. New enrollment is going to be starting soon for our next wave of interactive storytelling coaching masterclass humans. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link underneath the video. If you're interested, just put interested in the comments and I'll reach out to you. I'll DM you or I'll message you. And then we can talk about whether, this is something you want to craft for yourself. All right. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you have a fabulous rest of the Thursday. Also, so cool to have you here. Thanks so much. I know you could be watching like kitty cat videos, but you're here and wanting to get awesome at this. Also, like I said, there are, over the past couple of days, there's been questions about, how does this work for me? That's why I'm doing these case studies, because really what I want you to see is how this applies in your world, in your context. So if you're struggling with, taking the next step and you're thinking, okay, I like this strategy, this is cool, but this is where I'm like my roadblocks coming up, make sure you let me know in the comments. And this is something that I can bring up in the next lives. And I'll be talking about, a lot of you have been posting even, your special audiences and how can you engage them. So I'll be following up with you because I'd like to learn more so I can give you a more robust answer here on this platform. All right. So if you found this useful, make sure you like this video and then you'll get notified as soon as possible, as soon as I launch my next one, which will probably be tomorrow, but a little earlier because I run my live Q&A membership sessions on Fridays and they run at 9. So 9 PST. So that means I'll run my session tomorrow around 8-ish. All right. So hope to see you then. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day. This is definitely goodbye. All right. Take care, friends. Bye. And thanks for being here.